Appreciation Month from the Friends of Bolton Seniors. And Mary Chiumo, did I say it correctly this time?
Yes, you did.
Good, good. I am trainable. Is here to speak about it.
So Jenny, can you put the proclamation up?
Yes,
So,
I can.
Thank you. So throughout the month of May, the town of Bolton's will be celebrating Senior Appreciation Month. It's based on the government's administration of Community Living's Older American Month. And this year's theme is Age My Way, which focuses on aging in place and how older adults can plan to stay in their homes and live independently and be involved in their communities for as long as possible. So we all know these past 2 years have been very difficult on all of us, but especially on our older adults. And we have reached out to many groups and individuals in town to help celebrate our seniors during this month. And so to kick off Senior Appreciation Month 2022, we present the select board with this proclamation to read and sign, and then it will be placed on display at the Bolton Senior Center throughout the month of May.
Mary, would you like me to read it, or do you want to?
Absolutely. That would be
Okay.
great. Thank you.
Whereas the town of Bolton, Massachusetts includes a growing number of older Americans who contribute their strength, wisdom, and experience to our community. And whereas communities benefit when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds are welcomed, included, and supported. And whereas the town of Bolton recognizes our need to create a community that provides the services and supports older Americans' need to thrive and live independently for as long as possible. And whereas the town of Bolton can work to build an even better community for our older residents by planning programs that encourage independence, ensuring activities are responsive to individual needs and preferences, and increasing access to services that support aging in place. Now, therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Bolton, Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim May 2022 to be Senior Appreciation Month. We urge every resident to recognize the contributions of our older citizens, help to create an inclusive society, and join efforts to support older Americans' choices about how they age in their communities. Dated April 28, 2022. Are there any comments from other members of the board?
I think it's great. I think it's great. This is a great tradition.
Yep,
Thank
I
you.
support it.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the proclamation?
I'll make a motion that we approve the proclamation of Senior Appreciation Month 2022 for the month of May in the town of Bolton.
Second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call. Jonathan?
Aye.
Stan?
Aye.
And I am a yes also. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
Mary.
to all
Thank you,
the
Mary.
seniors, we appreciate your presence and your efforts very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is a request from Bolton Lions to hold a voluntary toll booth on Route 117 for 3 to 4 hours on June 11th or the June 4th or the 11th. I assume the 11th would be a rain date.
Hi, this is Andrew Keene from the Bolton Lions Club. That is correct. Our initial plan would be to hold it on June 4. And if that's raining, we would defer to June 11.
Okay.
Um,
So I see in the packet we have that this has been approved by the police department.
Yep.
Are there any
Yes.
questions or comments from the select board?
No. The Lions Club has done this many years, and it's I think it's great. Also a great tradition. So I'm fine with
yeah,
it.
we didn't do it the past 2 years.
Yep.
And kind of looking to get back to do it again. We'll with approval from this board, we would then be contacting Murphy Insurance to confirm that we can park in their parking lot, which they've graciously allowed us to do in all the past years. The DPW to borrow a couple of sawhorses and some cones, and the police department, going back to the police department to hire a detail to be with us the whole time we're there.
Great.
Okay, very good. Do I have a motion to approve the request of the Bolton Lions?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we approve the request from the Bolton Lions Club to hold their voluntary toll booth on Route 117 for June 4th with an optional rain date of June 11th.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Jonathan,
Aye.
Stan,
Aye.
and I'm a yes also.
Thank
Okay,
you.
good. Next on our agenda, and we are running ahead of the agenda right now, is a request from Hopkinton Concours to hold a car show at 41 Main Street on May 15th to benefit the Jimmy Fund. Is Aditya Duda with us?
Hi, Aditya.
Aditya, hi, welcome to the Bolton Select Board meeting.
Oh,
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
Tell
guys
us a
too.
bit about the event and how it's organized and how it's going to work.
Yeah, so I can run you through basically the story. So I went to high school in Hopkinton. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's where the Boston Marathon starts.
Mhm.
I just graduated high school and just finished my freshman year at the University of Michigan. So it's been a year. My junior year of high school, a friend and I decided to organize this car show at Hopkinton. And we had it all organized. You know, we talked to the police, we talked to local businesses. And I'm a big part of the car community. Like, I enjoy spending time with them. So I know a lot of people there. So we talked to private people, you know, local businesses in the car community, etc. We got together a whole bunch of people who wanted to come. We had this whole thing set up. We talked to waste management, etc. But regrettably, just as we had it set up, COVID hit, and you know, we had to cancel it. Then last summer, we were, you know, the entire world was still getting back on its feet, so I decided not to do it. But this year, as everything's opening back up, I figured that I'd give it another shot. And originally, I had the event planned in Norwood with Cadillac and Aston Martin of Norwood. It would be at their venue, but the police there have been having problems with other events, and told us that they didn't want any more events. So in turn, one of my friends owns 41 Main Street. It's the Paragon Communications property. And he offered his property for us to use. He said, you know, if you speak to the police, if you make sure everyone's fine with it, then by all means, you're able to use it. So I spoke to the police chief first and foremost. I talked with him, and he said that he was fine with it. He suggested that I get select board approval. So that's when I filed this in the agenda.
Okay. I guess the one question that pops into my mind, which is, are you going to be putting signs around town or between 41 Main Street and 495 to direct people?
No. So what's going to happen is I'm a photographer, and I'm pretty well versed in like digital media. So I've been making a lot of digital advertisements that I have up on social media and Facebook and other places. So all the advertisement for the event is predominantly digital. Wherever the address is, people are just going to come to the address, and on the property, I might have signs directing, because on the property, there's 2 roads that connect it to the main road.
Yeah.
And what I've planned, like I have a full event plan. If you guys are interested to see it, I can put it up here. But there's 2 access points. So I'm just going to make one an entry only and one an exit only. Those would be the only 2 signs that I would put.
How long will the event last?
It'll be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we'll have a police detail for that entire duration.
Yep, I see we have a copy of an email from the police chief saying that he has no objections to it. Any questions from the board?
Only one question, I guess, is it open to any particular type of car, or is it whatever type of car you have, if it's, you know, older than such and such?
Yes. It's predominantly focused towards modern supercars, exotics, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, McLarens, higher end cars, but that's what it's marketed towards. But since it's a concourse, it's like classes almost. So cars that might not be in the class, such as you know, that being our target demographic. If someone in, say, like a 2007 Nissan Altima shows up, we may not grant them a show space at the show, like at the event grounds, because space is obviously limited, we might tell them that thank you for coming, thank you for supporting the event, but we're going to relegate you to the spectator lot.
Okay.
If I
Other
may
than
interject-
I have no questions. Typically, I've been to a lot of these. I have a muscle car myself. So I think it's great. I think it's,
Yeah, it sounds like a very exciting event for the
Yep.
town. So,
Yeah.
If you don't mind my asking, what muscle car do you have?
I have a 72 Cutlass Supreme hardtop.
Yeah, that's awesome. We definitely would not turn something like that away. It's more so just
You're just saying that because
man,
you're
they
here.
won't
No,
let you
no.
in, but the car can get in.
it's more so just the people who, you know, it's honestly a lot of the people who cause problems at events like these, the ones who have like the giant exhausts and just, you know, the obnoxiously loud cars that aren't really that classy. Those are the kind of people that I'm trying to avoid, just so this event doesn't get a bad reputation.
Yeah.
Because what happened in Norwood was, you know, at other events and Cars and Coffees, there's no restrictions there. They would just let anybody in. And
Yeah.
some of these people, they would drive very dangerously and, you know, just create a lot of noise. And I spoke to the police chief there, and he said that he was getting complaints from across Norwood about these cars. And that's why he would not, he was opposed to the event. Nothing about like my event in general, just in these other events that were happening.
Well, that sounds great. That sounds great. And I
Sounds
appreciate that you let me in if I attend.
May I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the request for the Hopkinton Concourse to hold a car show at 41 Main Street on May 15th to benefit the Jimmy Fund.
Sorry, can I say one thing? I forgot
Sure.
to mention. I'm planning a rain date for May 22nd, just the following week.
Oh,
Okay, I'll amend my motion to include a rain date of the 22nd of May.
Second,
okay, a roll call. Jonathan,
aye.
Stan,
Aye,
and I am a yes also. So look forward to seeing you there. Sounds like a great
Yes.
event.
great.
Thank you so
fun.
much.
Thank you. Have a great night. Thank you.
You as well. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye,
Good
bye-bye.
luck.
Good night.
Next, we're still ahead of ourselves on the agenda, but we can start the next item. A discussion of adopting a flag policy and an update on the existing banner policy for the town. Don, can you want to walk us through this?
Walk you through the banner policy. It's in the packet.
Well, let's start with the flagpoles. So the town does not have a policy of what the town considers appropriate for the flagpoles. And in your packet is a proposed policy. You know, it's a policy that would be created by the selectmen, and obviously in the future it can be amended by the selectmen. But I would take comments and or is the policy satisfactory as it is?
Mr. Chairman, I think that the policy is certainly satisfactory. I think it provides for the fact that, you know, we want to treat everybody equal. But, you know, if we allow a flag of one nature, that kind of opens us up for any flag of any type, whether it's one that we would prefer or not. The only thing I would suggest we might want to consider adding in terms of the flags that are permitted to fly would be any flag of one of the branches of the armed services of the United States. That we may have an occasion where we might want to honor someone who is in the military. And that's the only other addition I might want to suggest we might want to consider adding. But otherwise, I'm fine with the policy as it is.
All right, Jenny, do you mind posting the policy? Thank you. I will read it as Jenny's going to post it. So this policy applies to flagpoles at the Town Hall, Houghton Building, Public Safety Building, Department of Public Works Building, Memorial Field, and Town Common. Flags permitted to fly on these flagpoles are flag of the United States of America, flag of the state of Massachusetts, the POW/MIA flag, and the national flag of any official dignitary of a foreign country attending an event in Bolton. So Jonathan, any comments or changes?
Looks good to me.
Okay. You know, to Stan's point, I guess before after POWMIA, I would add a flag of any branch of the armed services,
U.S. Armed Services.
U.S. Armed Services.
Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
I know that you
We can
pointed this
barely
out.
hear you, Don. There you go.
I know you pointed this out at some point, but as written, and I know you have other thoughts, but as written, I just want to make it clear to the other two select board members, this would not allow the Bolton town flag to be flown.
And we should add the Bolton town flag.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, my reasoning for not putting that up is that we can't get a town flag that doesn't fade very quickly and look very tired very quickly. And I would suggest that the town flag be displayed inside public buildings.
Well, that's all well and good, but I think we should have the option of, make sure we have the option of being able to fly it outside. Even if,
Okay.
we need to figure out to get a fade resistant flag. But I would say
Okay.
include armed services and the Bolton town flag.
I agree.
Okay. Stan, you want to make a motion with those changes?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we accept the policy on the display of flags on town flag poles as written, but also to include the addition of flags of the various U.S. Armed Services and the Bolton town flag.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor? We'll do roll call. So we'll do roll call. All those in favor, Jonathan,
Aye.
Stan,
Aye.
and I'm a yes also. There was a question as we were going through the last part about other flags that could be flown there. And does Emily Winter want to speak?
Yeah, I thought that there was an agenda item to continue the conversation about the pride flag. It seems like this is ruling that out completely.
On flagpoles.
Yeah, the flagpole at the town common was the beginning of the conversation that was
Okay.
started by Sarah Koshik at the last meeting.
Yeah, I thought that other flag might fit better under the general discussion of banners that we're going to have next. I don't know, how did the other selectmen feel about that?
We can certainly have that discussion, yes.
Okay. So yeah, this is okay. So we've settled the policy for the town flagpoles. Don, you want to walk us through the banner policy?
There I am. So the banner policy as it exists, and this was approved by the Board of Selectmen on December 7th, 2006. So none of the current board members obviously were on the board at the time, I don't believe. Jenny, can you share this? Thank you. I don't know that it'd be helpful for me to read the entire thing, but if you'd like me to, I will. Banners are allowed only with the permission granted by the town administrator or the Board of Selectmen at their regularly scheduled meetings. All requests for banners must be submitted to the town secretary. Requests must include contact name, address, group, exact language to be used on banner, dimensions, dates of events, dates requested for banner hanging / removing. Requests to hang banners must be received 1 week prior to the date of hanging the banner. Banners are to be used only for the purpose of alerting the public to upcoming public events, which are of community-wide interest and sponsored by nonprofit community groups. Text may include places and times, and if applicable, the cost of admission and identification of the sponsoring agency. No banner may be hung more than 1 week prior to the event and must be removed promptly thereafter. And finally, all banners will be located on the fencing along the park, meaning Pond Park, and be hung and removed by the proponent with strict adherence to the approved schedule. Since I've been here, I have been, I think, the only person who reviews and approves the banner requests. I don't think I recall one ever going to the select board.
Okay. So let me address Emily's question, and this is just from my point of view. After the last meeting, I spent several hours going through searching for other communities in Massachusetts that had flag and banner policies. And generally, let's see, there was one exception that was significantly different than the one we've just passed. And that was from the town of Maynard, which says the select board will decide what flags can fly where. And if you don't, and I'm paraphrasing here, and it's very blunt. It basically says, if you don't like it, you can go pound sand. It's just, there's no discussion. We're not trying to be fair. It was very careful not to set anybody's expectations that all of a sudden the flagpole is going to be available for public speech. And that's the problem that we run into, particularly with this court case about Boston that's now at the national level, about our flagpoles, what's called, I never even heard of this until 2 weeks ago. Are flagpoles government speech or are they public speech? And if they're public speech, there's basically no restrictions that you can put on what goes up there. And at this point in time, it seems too big a hill to climb to try to address that. So again, the flag policy that we adopted this evening, the selectmen can change it anytime they want to in the future. But at least now we have a flag policy in place. So
can we have the opportunity to just share with you what we have done for research? Because we put a lot of time into this as well. And we actually found quite the opposite in speaking with town administrators throughout the state who have done this successfully. And, you know, our general feeling is that, you know, having a pride flag on our town common for the month of June shows that we are an inclusive community. And it's not about, you know, I don't know. It's showing that we are welcoming and inclusive to the LGBTQ community with, you know, we have many members of the LGBTQ community in Bolton. And, you know, we reached out to, we found 15 towns that have already done this. And we made phone calls and emailed, and we did not hear negative feedback from any town that has done this successfully. And then I made a call to Lunenburg today. Heather told me that has never been an issue. They've never had any negative feedback about it. You know, and I think it's important to remember that the pride flag, it doesn't represent an organization in any way. It's not religious, it's not political. And the fact that Pride Month is federally recognized and has been since 1999, I think is a really important factor to consider. And we have had the Pride Proclamation approved for the month of June this year. So we were kind of hoping to be able to have an open conversation about this tonight and not have it just be completely squashed by a flag policy.
Well, Emily, it's nothing against the gay pride. It has nothing to do with that whatsoever. I mean, we fully support the objectives of the organization, and we fully support proclaiming June, you know, Pride Month. It has nothing to do with that. It is solely due to, if we allow one group access to the flagpoles, then, as Bob pointed out earlier, it opens it up and allows access to anyone and everyone. And then because it establishes a past practice, it becomes very difficult to impossible to stop some other group that we really don't want, including, MAGNA, white supremacists, all kinds of groups. So in order to ensure that we treat everything fairly, that's the policy that we have adopted. It has nothing to do with your group. It has nothing to do with being negative about it.
Well, it's not this, like I said, this flag is not representing an organization. MAGA and whatever else you had mentioned are organizations. The lawsuit in Boston is about a religious organization. This is not religious. This is not political. This isn't even affiliated with an organization. This is literally a flag that represents a group of people that are within our community.
Well, and someone else can claim that they represent a group of individuals that are not accepted or not accepted by most of the people in the town and would not prefer to have that flag up. But we would lose the opportunity to stop that. So right now, I think it is prudent to exclude anything other than the flags that we have designated on the flagpoles in town. Has nothing to do with being negative to your group at all.
I'm just an ally. It's not my group. I'm a supporter and an ally. And I'm going to tell you, of the 15 towns that have done this, we were able to get in contact with about 10 of them. Not one of them has had any issues. I mean, some of them, I think Belrica's been doing this since for like 10 years now. Not one of them has had any negative feedback, no strange requests for flags. And I just think that needs to be considered, and assuming that it's going to be a negative. And I think there can be guidelines. I think that you can say, okay, this is not affiliated with an organization. It's not affiliated with a religion or political group. I think that's really important to think about.
Well, that's true, but that's 15 towns out of 341 in the state of Massachusetts.
Well, let's be on the forefront here is Bolton, honestly. I mean, we don't have to wait until half the state has done this to say, okay, we'll jump on board. We can be on the forefront, just like we had our Pride rally, we've received so much positive feedback from people in surrounding towns saying, why hasn't this happened sooner?
Okay, but I'll reiterate the point I made before, which is that the select board can change this anytime it wants.
Well, that's why I'm giving you this information. I'm hoping that you will consider that.
Would the select board consider revising the policy in such a way that it permits flags to be flown that have no political, religious, or organizational affiliation or representation?
I think anybody who says they're with a group, someone else, yeah, I don't know how you say I don't really understand, particularly now. You could have convinced me of this before I was a selectman, but not now. Any group is political.
No.
Like I said, you could have convinced me of that before I became a selectman, but not now.
Social rights are not political.
Mr. Chairman, I'm comfortable with the policy as we have voted it at this point in time.
Okay.
If we want to reconsider it at some future date, I think we can. We were having some discussion about the banner policy. We haven't gotten to that portion, and there may be an option for something along those lines. I don't know whether that gets to the discussion or not, but I'm comfortable with the policy as is. I think the person in the flagpole that's on town property and the flags that we have designated, I think that's what it should be reserved for, at least at this point in time.
So I just want to point out that there is an inherent conflict if the town stands behind the proclamation, but then does not consider, I mean, the reason why this flag policy came into place is because we brought the request to you. So it seems like a policy was kind of put in as a way to say no without the conversation happening first. So one thing I don't understand why the flag is now part of a banner discussion, because it is a flag. Can someone explain that to me?
Well, I guess my question is, and I don't have an answer to this, is can the flag fly under the bylaw of a banner? It just wouldn't be on a flagpole. As I sit here, I can't think of a reason why not, but maybe there is one, and so let's have that discussion.
So if
Right,
I'm
but-
understanding you correctly, if the pride flag is considered a banner, then you would permit that to be hung, not on the flagpole, but somewhere on town property?
Specifically on the railing next to Pond Park.
Which is the place we put all banners if.
You know, the
request
school
is made.
has one, the school has one there now, but there's room for more. I don't know when they're planning to take, the school's planning to take one down, but I mean, basically what the school has on that railing right now is a flag. It's the dimensions of a flag. Small flag, but nonetheless, and as I read the banner policy, and again, I'm willing to be educated on this, it seems that, you know, it's permissible to put it there.
Actually, it's not as written, which doesn't mean you can't amend it tonight. You certainly can, but let me just reread number 4 to you. Banners are to be used only for the purpose of alerting the public to upcoming public events, which are of community-wide interest and sponsored by nonprofit community groups. I don't believe we're talking about a nonprofit community group, and it's not specifically a public event. You could certainly modify number 4 to allow for something like this. And I think it would be good if you did. But if you're going to go by the banner policy, I'm not sure that as written, you can do that.
And I think having the flag hanging in front of the school wasn't really what we were going for either. There's already pride flags at both schools. You know, we were hoping to see something on our town common saying this is a, you know, inclusive and welcoming community. And I don't think we were looking into putting a banner on the railing.
Could it be hung from the town common?
Like the pergola or something.
Which is the central location, close, you know, it doesn't send the same message as the flagpole, but it is in a central location and will be the location for the Pride Rally.
So this request is for the month of May?
June, Pride Month, federally recognized since 1999.
Okay, so just for a month. Is that right?
Correct.
I'm not inclined to change our banner policy to allow anything to be hung from the any of the structures on the town common. We have a policy that we have a long-standing location. That location has been there for many years because it was too difficult to string banners across 117 due to the traffic and the difficulties of DPW. That's why we chose that particular spot, and that has been the spot for years and years. So I'm not inclined to add an additional location at this point in time.
I mean,
I'm not going to change the look. I can't see the reason to change the location tonight either. I can see changing some of this wording to make it less restrictive. But I'm certainly not inclined to approve any, if we were to change the location and the wording, I wouldn't approve any flag unless the whole thing had been reviewed by town council anyway. So, you know, that would be, you know, another couple of weeks. But I don't see a problem of why I don't understand why the only place this flag can be displayed is on the town common.
It's sending a message to our community, to the members of our community. It's impactful. A lot of towns are doing it. I mean, we're willing to
now you're telling me it's political.
I didn't say it's political. I said it's impactful. It's showing that we're inclusive. We have a margin, you know, the LGBTQ community is a marginalized group of people, and we have a federally recognized month throughout the year. And we're saying, we are here, we support you. This is an inclusive community, welcoming community. It's not political in any way. And it's not connected to any organization.
You're announcing a set of values.
Announcing
right?
a set of values.
And you're saying that the fence next to Pond Park, which has been used for years by other groups, isn't satisfactory for the level of effect that you want.
A railing. You're talking about putting a banner on a railing. It's not the same as having a flag flying on our town common. It's not the same. No, I can put a flag on the general store, but it's not the same.
What other flag would be appropriate other than the flag you're suggesting?
I would say autism awareness. If somebody said, you know what, I want to have an autism awareness for whatever the week or month of the year is, cancer awareness. We're willing to do, you know, Veterans Affairs and Armed Forces. And I guess I don't understand where the line is.
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand. Where is the line?
You say that no flags that are affiliated with a specific organization, religious group, or political group. That's very strong right there. So if somebody came to you and said, you know, I really feel strongly about autism awareness, I'm wondering if we could, you know, have this. They're not, as long as it's not affiliated with an organization, religion, or political group. It's not, you know, it's just highlighting people that exist in our community and saying, we see you, we care, we're here, we support you. For whatever group it might be, group of individuals it may be. I don't mean group as in an organization. I mean a group of individuals, members of our community.
So basically you're saying that it should be reserved for any self-defined group that views itself as marginalized.
I'm saying that for anything that is especially federally recognized as Pride Month is, that why can't Bolton recognize Pride Month?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what else it would apply to.
I guess it would be on a case-by-case basis if somebody came to you and wanted to add a proclamation and asked to fly a flag on the common.
Mr. Chairman, there's another hand up. There's a hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Who else is?
Hi, that's me, Lauren Mahoney,
Hi,
Spectacle
Lauren.
Hill
Sorry,
Road.
I didn't see your hand.
No, I'm sorry. Okay, is it okay if I speak?
Yes, go ahead. Thank you,
Okay.
Jonathan.
I just wanted to, in line what Emily was saying, I just wanted to say Bolton, you know, what Emily is proposing, there are values aligned with it, and there are values that already have been adopted by Bolton by the Pride Proclamation, which is, you know, I think we would want to be selective of flags so it doesn't open up a can of worms. But by having, like, the flag should be in line with our town values, and by having the proclamation, we are saying that this is a value we have, and we are valuing these members of our community and want them to be seen and recognized by putting this flag in a very prominent part of the town. So I think the limit that you would draw is around the values that have been adopted by the town. And by having the proclamation, the town has adopted this value. So perhaps the flag policy could be tweaked to say, also to include flags that are in line with proclamations adopted by the town. That's all I have to add.
No, okay, I appreciate it. I'm stewing over it. That's why I'm quiet.
Mr. Chairman, I am again not inclined to change the policy at this juncture. You know, the previous speaker, you know, case by case basis, we're opening up the town for potential lawsuits and to get dragged down into litigation. I think it is cleaner to leave it the way it is. The policy is not against any particular group or organization. It is just even-handed for everyone.
So I guess where I leave it, where I am at this point, let me put it that way. I shouldn't say I'm going to leave it. Where I am at this point is, I'll say I've been presented with new information that's worth considering, but I'm not ready to put the town on the hook by changing the policy. I'll make the banner thing more expansive. The banner, what's permitted to go on the railing, more expansive. But if that's, I'm not going to do that if no one's going to use it. But again, this is a select board policy. It can be changed. I need more information. I'm not a legal expert about how this plays out in other towns. When I was doing my research, I found numerous news articles from towns, particularly down around the South Shore, that are facing this exact same, in the past year or the past 18 months, are facing this exact same problem. They're right now, they're doing the same solution that we're coming up with, or that we've come up with so far tonight, but that doesn't mean it has to stop there. I just need to learn more, and I want legal opinion on it and all that other stuff before I really just open this up. So
Yeah,
that's my take on it for tonight.
yeah, I guess what I'd like to explain is like why I think, well, why I'm feeling conservative about this is that there are nuisance groups and nuisance lawsuits, and you know, if we allowed this, it could open the town up to one of these types of lawsuits. They're very expensive, and you know, painful to go through. And I just, you know, we have supported the proclamation. You know, supporting the parade. I'd be glad to put, you know, a pride flag up on my lawn. It'd be great to see one on Pond Park. But I think, you know, I think we can be supportive and open without, you know, getting the town in trouble. So
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Jonathan.
Go ahead.
No, as I'm thinking over what I've heard tonight, one of the things that occurs to me is the suggestion that you could ban religious groups. Well, you know, the Constitution says you can't favor a group because it's religious, but the Constitution, the next sentence says you can't deny a religious group access that you're permitting other groups just because it's religious. So it's things like that that just make me not want to change direction suddenly in the middle of this meeting. I'm willing to consider changes to it. I'm just not hearing anything convincing tonight. So, who was Emily and Lauren? I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to this.
I just wanted to make one final comment regarding the lawsuit comment. Like I said, we reached out to 15 towns and heard back from about 10 of them. There have been no lawsuits. There have been no complaints. There have been no odd requests for other flags from any of those towns that we heard back from. And I just wanted to say that before I'm done for the night. But and I want to reiterate that the lawsuit in Boston is regarding a religious group. So again, this is a month that is federally recognized. Just want to say that one last time.
But the issue in Boston is that they denied a religious group, whereas they've been letting everybody else fly. And that's what I don't want to emulate here. So, okay, we will go on to the
Sorry, I think, did you ask if I had something else to add?
yes.
Sorry. Yes, I was just going to say, I think then you would have, and I'm glad we have the Pride proclamation, but wouldn't you encounter the same argument then for that would open the door to like,
Lauren, you're breaking up.
NRA proclamation or any type of proclamation, MAGA proclamation. So I get.
No, I mean, if someone came before us with an NRA proclamation, we would not vote to support that, and
Right.
So it wouldn't even be
Yes.
it wouldn't be there. So
Right. So I think that'd be the same argument then for the flag, right?
no, I don't believe that's the same argument. No,
Oh,
no.
okay. I do. I don't know how it's different, but that's okay.
All right. All right. Well, thank you all very much. I have a feeling that we will be revisiting this in the future sometime.
So just to wrap it up, are you interested in hanging up a flag at Pond Park? Should we review that language with town council, or you're not interested?
Because we're certainly not gonna change it tonight. We
Yeah.
need to get town council.
Emily, I think that question's directed to you.
If there is interest, I'd be happy to draft a suggested edit and have it ready for May 12th.
To the banner policy.
Yes.
Okay, well, we were considering making some changes tonight if so desired, but
Oh,
if we just want to add it to the agenda again on May 12th, we could do that.
if you do it on the fly, you run the risk of overlooking something. If you give me 2 weeks, we could have it done for May 12th, and it's still in plenty of time for June. If that's of interest, I just wanted to make that observation.
So Emily and Sarah, are you interested in that option or not?
I'm
How
going to
about-
refer to Sarah.
Yeah, how about Emily and I talk offline, and we'll get back to the select board and Mr. Lowe really soon.
Okay.
Yeah. I would, if it's simpler, you can just contact Mr. Lowe directly. If you want to contact us, that's fine, but if you want to just go to Mr. Lowe.
No problem.
He knows he has the selectman's blessing to go ahead and spend the money on legal fees to make these changes correctly.
Yeah.
All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, an update on the Nashua River Community Resilience Lands Management Project. Rebecca Longval, Bolton Conservation Agent. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, thank you. So tonight I actually have Lauren De La Parra from our consultant team on the project. and she will be providing most of the information update if you would allow her to do so.
All right, welcome, Lauren. Tell us what's going on.
Here, good to see some familiar faces as well.
You're very quiet, Lauren.
All right, I'm going to move my computer close to me. I've been having this issue all day, so I apologize.
Okay.
Can you hear me better now?
This is much better. Thank you.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Am I able to share my screen? I'm getting the message that the host has disabled participant screen
The
sharing.
hostess stepped away from her desk momentarily.
We hadn't anticipated screen sharing and the host did step away.
Okay.
She'll be back shortly.
Sure, no problem. Well, I can just start by introducing myself. So as Rebecca mentioned, I'm Lauren De La Parra. I'm part of the consultant team that's been working on this MVP Action Grant project now for almost a year. It's hard to believe. I was also involved in the previous Action Grant project that kind of led to the current project. And that project was called the Apple Country Natural Climate Solutions Project. And really was about looking at opportunities to implement nature-based solutions in Bolton in partnership with the towns of Harvard and Devens as well. This current project is a 2-year project, so we're finishing up the first year very soon, and we'll be kicking off the second year starting in July. And it's in partnership with the town of Clinton. So some slightly different partners and a little bit longer timeline. Jenny, I was wondering if it would be possible to share my screen. Thank you so much. I do have a brief slide presentation just to give you all some updates and some visuals. And I should just say I am a climate and sustainability planner with Linnaean Solutions. We're a consulting firm based in Cambridge, and we've been doing a lot of work with a lot of great communities in the central Massachusetts region over the past several years to think about climate resilience through the MVP program. So we're just really lucky to get to work with Rebecca and folks in Bolton because y'all are doing some really great work.
Should be all set, Lauren.
Great. Thanks so much, Jenny. All right. Can everyone see these slides?
Yep.
That was the wrong one. There we go. Wonderful. So as you all know, I'm here to provide an update on where the project is at right now. And I'm going to just start with a kind of high-level overview of what the project is. There are many moving pieces, and this just provides a kind of general picture of the different components of the project. So as I mentioned, it's a 2-year project, and we're working to identify strategies for enhancing climate resilience through land use and land management with an emphasis on natural lands, including forests and what we're calling turf. And that really refers to things like lawns, playing fields, gardens, anywhere with grass that is more heavily managed. So the project as a whole is guided by 2 primary processes. And the first one, which starts up at the top left here in this diagram, is looking at land use and land management from a community perspective, driven by a core team of folks from across both participating communities and some more regional stakeholders as well. And then we also have a forest task group in year 1, so looking specifically at forested lands. And then in year 2, we'll have another task group convening looking specifically at those turf lands that I mentioned. So concurrently, there's this other process that starts at the bottom left corner of this slide and is looking at all of these issues from a more regulatory perspective. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that side of the work tonight, especially in the context of the select board. And this element of the project is being led by town staff. We're working with collaborators at the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions and others, including the consulting team, and this will span the full 2 years of the project. So one thing to note, as this slide is an attempt to illustrate, these processes are not independent. They're really intersecting and iterative, and we're trying to build in a lot of team review, town review, community review throughout the process so that we can make sure that the outputs are being strengthened by all of those voices. So this slide gives an update on the key deliverables of the project. So we have a website, which is now up and running. And Rebecca, I don't know if you have the link handy. Sorry if you don't mind sharing that in the chat. I would it's actually available in English and Spanish right now. And I would encourage folks to check out the project story tab, as well as the data viewer and the forests tab, all of which will help to give a deeper sense of what the project has been up to. The data viewer is a really neat tool. It's got a lot of really awesome mapping resources that help us to look at the landscape of Bolton and Clinton from a lot of different perspectives, drawing on a lot of different data sources. So it's kind of a fun thing to play around with. As I mentioned at the top of the presentation, we've also been working to develop principles for forest management. And this is driven by that forest task group, that group of stakeholders that are really focused on forest health and forest care. And these will be the basis for developing a set of community-driven guides to forest care and stewardship that are one of the primary outputs of the first year of the project. And then last but certainly not least, we've developed a series of what we're calling opportunity matrices that are focused on wetlands and development regulations and bylaws. And these are really intended to further support the town's decision-making around land use and land management. And as I mentioned, we'll be getting a little bit more into detail about those later in the presentation, particularly the development-focused ones, as this is the select board. And there were other folks I know invited from other local planning board, board of health that to attend tonight. So hopefully we have some folks in the room from those boards as well. And then really all of these deliverables are outputs of a process that's really about supporting community capacity and enabling greater capability to take action on climate change through collaborative care for our landscapes. This is just a quick timeline. The core team has met twice now, and they'll be meeting again next month. The Forest Task Group actually just had their third meeting of 3 meetings yesterday. It was fabulous. We also have gone on 2 site visits to forested locations throughout Clinton and Bolton, including a number of local conservation lands in Bolton, which has been fantastic. And then, as I mentioned, we have this ongoing regulatory review process, and we're here tonight to just talk about that. The Wetlands and Development Regulatory Review has been ongoing since last fall, and the opportunity matrices are the main output of the first year. And then in the second year of the project, we'll be using those to create a more sort of targeted set of recommendations that the town can consider for adoption. As well as in the case of the wetlands bylaws and regulations, there's actually going to be a process with the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions to create a model wetlands bylaw that is focused on climate resilience specifically and integrating climate resilience throughout. So that's kind of an exciting output of this project that's going to have much broader implications for communities across the Commonwealth. So I'll talk just briefly about that before I talk about the development side of things. So as I mentioned, we've been working with MACC and their Climate Connections Committee. And what we started with was a survey which was sent out to all conservation commissions in the Commonwealth, asking people if their city or town had climate-related provisions in their bylaws or regulations already. And the results of the survey are in this map. With folks who responded yes, they have climate-related provisions already in blue. So you'll note that most of those are in the greater Boston area. Lots of coastal provisions especially came out of that. Folks who said no are in the orange color, and then folks who said they were considering it were in yellow. And so not everyone responded to the survey. This is just based on who did respond. But it's really encouraging to see how many towns are considering integrating climate resilience into their local wetland bylaws. The survey also asked folks to submit their bylaws or ordinances or regs if they said yes. And so the consultant team reviewed those towns' bylaws and regulations to look at what kinds of things folks were already implementing locally. We then have developed 2 spreadsheets, which we're calling opportunity matrices, for municipalities to integrate climate resilience into their wetland protection bylaws and regulations. So there's one spreadsheet for the bylaws and one for the regulations. The regulations one is a beast because regulations can be very long and complex, but it's also a really awesome resource that can be used, as I mentioned, by anyone, really, not just the towns that are part of this project. So we drew on a number of key resources to complete this process, and I'll mention some of those in my next slide as well. We also looked at several other communities that didn't respond to the survey that we know from experience have incorporated climate resilience into their context locally, and also have been liaising with other efforts that state agencies are undertaking to make sure that we're consistent with the broader picture of what's going on in the state. And the real takeaway from this process has just been that there are a lot of exciting opportunities to enhance local climate resilience through bylaws and regulations, especially related to wetlands. I skipped a slide there. There we go. So, moving on to the development regulatory review. We also went through a similar process to the one that I just described for wetlands and looked at local bylaws and regulations related to development, including zoning bylaws, subdivision rules and regulations, the stormwater bylaw in Clinton's context, and then relevant plans like Bolton's recent housing production plan. And we created another opportunity matrix, one for each of the two towns, focused on the ways that Bolton and Clinton can update those development-focused bylaws and regulations to integrate climate resilience. And once again, it became pretty clear from this process that there are a lot of exciting opportunities. Bolton has already done a lot of great work on this, and so the emphasis is really about strengthening what's already there. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, we looked at a lot of key resources to go through this process. I just want to mention a few that were really valuable. Mass Audubon has a low impact development bylaw review tool that they've created and they've updated over time. It's a really robust resource to kind of look at how to integrate green infrastructure and low impact development into local regulations and bylaws. The Metropolitan Area Planning Council also recently released a climate resilient land use strategies tool, which we were able to draw on. Then the Sustainable Development Code has online resources with an emphasis on environmental health, natural hazards, and land use and community character that had a lot of really useful resources. And then, of course, the Commonwealth Smart Growth, Smart Energy Toolkit. Notably, there are sections on natural resource protection zoning, stormwater management, and low impact development. So the opportunity matrices are very much currently in draft format, and we're starting to share them for feedback with key stakeholders like you all here tonight. So among the folks that we are asking to review the drafts, we have town staff, including folks from conservation, planning, inspectional services, and others. Town governance, such as yourselves, the Select Board, Planning Board, Board of Health, Conservation Commission. The MACC Climate Connections Committee is reviewing these drafts on the wetland side of things to incorporate any feedback that they have. Then, of course, the project team and the core team that I mentioned, which is the group of stakeholders that are charged with overseeing the project as a whole. And then we have our regional coordinator for MVP who's looking at these, as well as the Resilient Lands Initiative that's happening at the state level with EEA right now as well. So we've been in communication with them about some of the work that they've been up to related to regulations and want to, again, make sure that we're consistent with their work. So hoping that everyone here tonight will have an opportunity and some time to take a look at these drafts and provide feedback as you are able. And I know Rebecca has shared those as well. So, as I mentioned, Bolton has done a lot of really great work to update its regulatory framework recently, including recent updates to the subdivision rules and regulations. So many of these recommendations are really just about strengthening the great work that has already been done or is already being done. And in terms of regulations around the development process specifically, these are a few of the key opportunities that we've identified so far. So things like expanding purpose definitions and design standards to include climate resilience and protection of ecosystem services as sort of stated goals. directing new development toward priority areas. I know this is something the town is already thinking about, but thinking about it in terms of some of the other climate resilience benefits that can have, like protecting ecosystem carbon, both in soils and above ground biomass, encouraging things like walkability and affordability so folks don't have to hop in their car and drive very far, lowering infrastructure costs for the town, which I'm sure is something that you all think about, and avoiding fragmenting valuable habitat. The farmland and open space planned residential development bylaw that y'all have is really exciting, and there's some opportunities there to increase open space protection if that's of interest to the town. And then strengthening low impact development and green infrastructure strategies for things like stormwater management, heat mitigation, and overall ecosystem health. And then we also are aware that there's an ongoing master planning process right now, and there are certainly opportunities to connect that to local regulations, since many of the regulations reference the master plan as a kind of baseline for guiding the overall intent. So, and this is just a slide to show you a quick snapshot of what these documents look like. There's, on top here is the matrix itself, and you'll notice that there's a column there that says Massachusetts examples. And so in the process of reviewing local regulations and bylaws, we gathered as many examples of best practices that we could find for each of the recommendations that are in the matrix, and linked to them in a separate document that we're hoping is easy to navigate and can be a resource for anyone who's trying to do this work into the future. So that's basically all I've got for you all tonight. I also just wanted to mention lastly that we are going to be hosting a public meeting toward the beginning of June to share the progress from the first year of the project and kind of just have a community celebration. And we're tentatively scheduling that for the evening of June 8th, which is a Wednesday. So hopefully everyone here will be able to make it. We would love to see you all there.
Will
Thanks
that
so
be
much for your time.
will that be an in-person meeting, or?
It will, yeah. We're actually planning to host it, weather permitting, outdoors, possibly on the Clinton, in Clinton Central Park. That's a tentative location right now.
Right, because this is a joint program we're doing with Clinton.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And
Right.
just very quickly, before we hand it back to the select board, I do want to obviously say thank you to the select board and the town administrator and the community in general for being supportive of this project to try and work to build resiliency as a community. And thank you to Lauren for providing that update. I'm working diligently on this project, but I also, the point of highlighting was the bottom of that screen, and it was just naming some of the consultants and experts that we're working with. And it's really a diverse group of experts from all across different fields, whether it be scientists, engineers, architects, I guess you would bring it back up, and an attorney who works with MACC as well. So not only do we have our consultants reviewing this, but we also have really good resources and experts reviewing this to make sure it's a very strong project and the outputs that come out of it as well.
Okay,
That's
very
great.
good. Well, thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you
Appreciate your
both.
time very much.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Let's see, next is Parks and Recreation. Request to install 2 no parking signs on the west side of the entrance to the town common.
Mr. Chairman, the reason for this agenda item is at the previous select board meeting, the board approved 2 signs on the east side of the entrance. And there was some discussion about should there be signs on the west side, but there was concern about basically sign pollution. So the board said you would revisit it if there was a need. Well, shortly after the signs were erected, we had vehicles parking on the other side, on the west side, creating the same problem we had on the east side. So it became evident very, very quickly, and the Sheriff Parks and Rec, Ed Sterling, sent the police chief and me a couple of pictures of the vehicles and the issues that had migrated to the west side of the entrance. So it makes perfect sense to put these signs up, unfortunately.
Any questions?
No, I think it's fine. Matter of fact, I think I was the person at the previous meeting who suggested having them on the other side as well. So unfortunately, it's a shame that we have to add them, but I'm fine with it.
You were right, Stan.
Motion, please.
Well, once in a while I get it right, you know.
Can I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the request by Park and Rec to install 2 no parking signs on the west side of the entrance to the town common.
Second,
All those in favor, Jonathan,
aye.
Stan,
Aye.
and I'm a yes also. Next, we have a request from Parks and Rec to accept the gift of a park bench for Pond Park from the Nashua Rotary Club. It's Nashua, right?
Neshoba.
Nashua, sorry. Do we have a picture of the bench or something new? No?
Jenny, do you still have it?
I think it was in the packet.
It's in the packet, Mr. Chairman.
Oh.
I would be
yes, it is.
happy to walk
I'm
down to
sorry
my
about that.
garage and take a
Yeah.
picture in live, Lisa. Give me a moment.
Okay, can I have a
Hold
motion?
on.
Make a motion, we approve and accept the gift of a park bench for Pond Park from the Rotary Club.
Second,
All those in favor, Jonathan,
aye.
Stan,
Aye.
and I'm a yes also. Then there is a request for approval of signs announcing a Love Your Neighbor event to be posted on the town common for an event this weekend.
I think it's May 1st, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. No, I'm fine with them. I'm glad you came by and had us take a look. Do we have a picture or have folks seen the sign that's already up at the town common?
I think, Jenny, did you get a picture?
And he does have a picture if anyone needs to see it.
I'm okay.
I'm good.
Okay, but can you tell us more about the event? I don't know about this program.
This is some community members wanted to share the love around town, and they're having some volunteer groups at the common, and they're just trying to get people there. And deliver these. They're going to make the signs that day on Sunday, and then they're going to deliver them to houses that people who they think need the signs on their property.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Super.
Do I have a
Do we know
motion?
what time that event's going to occur?
I think it's 9 to 1.
Okay, great. I make a motion to approve the sign request.
Second,
Okay, all those in favor, Jonathan,
aye.
Stan,
Aye.
I'm a yes also. All right, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Next is a continuation of our discussion from the last meeting, excuse me, on prioritizing programs for negotiation of the 40B project at 580 Main Street. I think as we get started with this, I just want to go over a couple of things, make sure we're all on the same page. That as part of a friendly 40B, the town is entitled to negotiate with the developer for what are called mitigating projects or mitigating funds. That in the course of doing their preparatory work for this project, what had already existed but was ignored was again discovered, which is that there was a 100-foot well protection area that passed through which all the gravel vehicular traffic would pass, and that we're going to lose that one way or the other, whether or not the project at 580 goes through. If the project does go through, we have the option to get some other project's done. If we lose that gravel access, there still will be access to the girls' lacrosse field through the pathway from Florence Sawyer School. So as we go through this, what I would recommend is that each of the selectmen provide a ranking of their top 5 projects, preferably in order from their highest priority to their lowest priority. Jenny, if you could help us keep track of this, and we'll see where we end up after each selectman makes their choices. We'll see where we have, if there's anything in common, or where we need to do some more, we need to have more discussion. So Jonathan, would you like to start?
Sure. I just want to, start by saying, this development is going to have 394 bedrooms. That's what's proposed. 220 units with 394 bedrooms. So I don't think we've kind of taken in what an influx of population this is going to be. And so I guess my choices are about how we're going to link this concentrated group of people to the rest of the town. And I think this will be great for local businesses, like the Bolton Bean people, and the dry cleaners, all those type, the bank, those type of services are going to be great for this community. So I guess for me, what's important also is kind of mitigating the change in the what we call the cart path. And I understand what Bob was saying is that we can no longer use it for vehicles, but I think we can still use it for emergency use and bicycles and things like that, and walking. So I'll just go over, my top things. I think it's important that that we not relocate the community garden, but perhaps provide additional garden plots, because I think members of this new community are going to want to use, be gardeners. So that's kind of looking ahead. I think because the access now is going to shift through the Florence Sawyer School, we might think that that access would be limited, that cars really couldn't come to the garden or the lacrosse field during school hours, that it would have to be before or after and on weekends. So I think it might be a good idea to have some parking spots for gardeners within the new development for during school hours, so people can park and have access to the garden. So I support that idea. I also support the idea of reconstructing the culvert bridge so that it's safe for all type of vehicles, whether it's service vehicles for the water treatment facility, or families bringing their kids to the lacrosse field, and gardeners accessing the garden. I think it's very important that we work on the sidewalks within the development. So a sidewalk leading that connects Bolton Country Manor out to the road, and also sidewalks going to the east and the west. And I think these sidewalks should be of the same standard as the new sidewalks we put in as part of the the work on Main Street. So concrete with that standard, not the kind of the old standard of asphalt. I think the town center trail loop. So for some people are going to walk from this development on the sidewalk along Main Street. I think it's also important that we strengthen the town center loop so that kids can walk to school, can walk to Memorial Field, the library, and residents from the development can access conservation trails and things like that. So I think that's important. And, you know, I think it's important that we allow emergency vehicles to access the existing cart path for emergencies. And that we have some formalized agreement for public access to the site. Yeah. So those are my big ones. So is that more than 5? Probably.
I lumped a couple of them together, but yeah, so it's 5 or 6. That's fine. Stan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I have a number of them. I would say number 1 would be the reconstruction of the culvert bridge to the septic field. I believe our DPW director has also outlined a memo, which might also be in our packet about that. I think we need to have a secondary access to that site for emergency vehicles in case the main entrance gets blocked. So I think sort of a concept of a fire road. I do disagree with Mr. Keep that that alternative access via the school over that culvert bridge should only be for.
Well, let's say what our priorities are and then discuss our differences later.
All right, that's fine. So that's number 1. Number 2 would be.
No, wait a minute. Your number 1 was reconstruction of the stone culvert.
Yes.
Your number 2 was emergency vehicle access. Right?
Well, I consider that one and the same. I mean, that's the purpose of reconstructing that culvert.
Oh, I thought you were talking about 5
Yes.
and 11.
Well, it's not going to cost the folks at 580 Main to have emergency vehicles go across. I mean, we're talking about the 580 Main people, Wood Partners, providing some benefit to the town because it's a friendly 40B.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I mean, the vast majority of that space is owned by the town from the culvert all the way through the sheep field and lacrosse field. So I don't think that's something we need to ask Wood Partners to do. So that's still number 1. Number 2, additional spaces specifically for the Council on Aging and the Bolton Country Manor, the folks who participate in the senior center. I believe we have been told over and over again that there's limited availability for additional spaces. And I think the priority should be for seniors for access to the Bolton Country Manor for the senior center. Number 3, I would say if we can get improvements to Derby Field, that is one of the, I would say one of the poorest fields that we have in town. And I think improvements to that field are important. I would advocate that because of the limited parking and the restrictions on access to the community garden, that we potentially look to Wood Partners to help us find another spot for the community garden. I think that would take care of parking, that will take care of access, and quite frankly, to have something that's in a much more convenient place to get access to. That would be my number 4. And number 5, and probably I'm going to have an additional one as well, is I know that there's issues in terms of a safe playground. We have some playground equipment at Memorial Field. If something could be done to upgrade that, I think that would be great. It's visible to the street. There is parking there. I believe the Park and Rec Commission and the chairman had floated some ideas out on the Bolton Community Facebook page about a potential additional playground site. I think we have one already, and I think if we can get some improvements to what we already have, I think that'd be great. I do also agree with Mr. Keep in terms of some additional sidewalk access, which probably would be number 6. But yes, I think we need to have some connecting sidewalks along Main Street 117 for those folks to get access to other parts of town.
Okay. So my choices would be first, my first priority would be additional parking at Bolton Country Manor, which is 7A on this list. My second choice would be number 5, reconstruction of the stone culvert. Not for emergency vehicles, for all vehicles, right? As a matter of fact, it should be, we can get into this later, but it should be for all vehicles and pedestrians simultaneously. Third would be improvements to Derby Field. Fourth would be, I know it's not an expensive item, but they've got to allow emergency vehicle access over the existing cart path for ambulances and stuff like that you know, again, in case something's going on at Florence Sawyer and people can't get around there, we've got to have emergency access from the 580 Main Street parking lot to the horse ring and the other the leach field. The fifth one, and this is not on the list, this is one I would like to add and like to ask the selectmen to consider, is that they provide ADA compliant access from a drop-off point on the leach field down to the girls' lacrosse field, so that people can use carts and, you know, if someone wants to watch a practice or something else, they can do so. I think in terms of having a loop trail, if you're going to have a loop trail, or if you're going to have parents dropping off their kids at the top of the leach field to go down to the girls' lacrosse field, that having a paved path that's ADA compliant would be very helpful. So that would be my fifth choice.
Chairman,
So,
could I just make one point?
sure.
Relative to number 11 and the access of emergency vehicles. We just a couple of points. One, I don't anticipate resistance from the developer on that, but they do need to get sign off from DEP. So it's not solely their decision. I don't think we anticipate that DEP would push back on it, because it wouldn't be regular use. It would be obviously for emergency vehicles, and only we could have bollards. You know, we've talked about that, but I don't want to paint the impression that it's solely at their discretion. I think they would need to go through just get approval from DEP as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Jenny, can you tell us who the winners are?
Well,
I wasn't exactly clear for Jonathan's first, your first item, you said the cart path. What number was that correlated with?
I mean, I think that's, I mean, it's part of number 11, but also, I mean, some of these things show up. So it's just
Well, I
allowing.
thought your first one was 2A.
Well, he mentioned the
Additional
cart path
gardens.
first, and then he went to A or
Okay.
to, I thought it was 2B actually.
Yeah, I think it's both the cart path, you know, allowance for emergency vehicles, but also pedestrian access and for cyclists and things like that.
Yeah, because there are,
That's part of the future town center trail loop.
because there were a couple items that Stan and Jonathan said that kind of weave between a couple of the items on the list. It's a little difficult for me to say there's clear winners, but I can
Okay.
reread. I could,
Well, I mean, maybe this is just helpful for Don and, you know, this is a negotiation, so there, there are going to be more asks, and there are going to be some things that are easy and some things that are rejected. But
Well, it's a little more complicated than this at this point, because the zoning board of appeals needs a list from us
okay,
to create the final agreement, or to frame the final agreement. So I agree with you that if it's a negotiation, there can be some back and forth, but the selectmen have to be very specific about what's going to be negotiated.
okay. So I think there was agreement between you and Stan about renovating Derby Field.
Yeah, I think all three of us were in favor of the reconstruction of the stone culvert.
Yeah.
I think that was a clear priority for all, that was on all of our lists.
And the standard you recommended, Bob, with that it can be used for all vehicles, include, and pedestrians.
And pedestrians, yeah, because, then, Stan and I were on Derby Field. You and Stan were on the sidewalk together. And then Stan and I were the same on the parking for the Council on Aging.
Mhm.
And I think all of us were also on that emergency vehicle access.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to talk about which things don't really cost that much, like that's not going to cost any money, and which ones are going to be expensive.
No, but it's got to be on the list. I mean,
Yeah,
if we're going to
Oh,
include
yeah.
stuff that costs no money, that just allows us to add another one to the list,
Yep.
Right.
but it's got to be on the list.
Yep. So the kind of the outliers were Stan made a vote for, improving, I guess, the playground at Memorial Field. Is that right, Stan?
Yes.
And that's a money one. I don't think that's that expensive, but I think I haven't voted for like the corridor study, because I think we're doing well with how we're dealing with our intersections, like piece by piece. I don't know if Don has a different feeling about that, but
I think we are doing well with the intersections piece by piece, which doesn't mean I wouldn't want to see us pursue funding for a corridor study at some point. I mean, there are grants out there for that, and
yeah,
it's not unimportant, but I don't know at this point that it rises to the level of some of the other things that the three of you have talked about, in my opinion.
Right.
I did want to ask, like, the future park and ride shuttle stop, is that type of public transportation like on the horizon for Bolton, or is that a long way off? I'm noticing more shuttles in other towns.
Well, I guess it's all relative. We're trying to, and I know Valerie's been working on this. We're trying to get it on our roadmap, if you will, on our plan. Yes, I mean, we're not talking a year or two probably, but if it's something that we don't start talking about, 3-4 years from now, we'll still be talking about it. So we want to get it out there as a goal. I know it's important. Well, it's not important just to it's very important to Valerie, but she's not the only one. I mean, I agree with that. It's just a matter of how that would shake out and how we could tie into what the regional planning agency's plans are too, I assume.
Okay, so Stan and I both mentioned the garden. Stan was looking for a new site. I guess that Woods would buy some parcel of, sunny open field that could be the new community garden. I support that, as well as I think keeping it where it is, for the new residents, it's in a good location in terms of walking to it, but so there seems to be some interest, related to the garden that should be, should register in this.
Jonathan, if I could, we've had a lot of talks about the community garden. And, I'm not going to get into whether it should stay there or go somewhere else, but I think given its location, trying to expand it would become a bit problematic because of some of the wetland issues there. So if you wanted increased capacity, I'm not sure that could occur there.
Mm-hmm.
No one has any interest in my suggestion of a paved pathway from the leach field down to the girls' lacrosse?
No, I think that's worthwhile. I again don't agree with the fact that to allow all vehicular traffic over that culvert and onto the what is now the sheep field. I think that's a mistake. One, you've got a leach field there. You don't want lots of cars traipsing through there. That just opens up a lot of can of worms.
If the solar field doesn't go in, we'll have to put something up there to prevent cars from doing that. I agree.
Right. Well, I'm making the assumption at this point in time that we will have a solar field there. But if not, then we'll have to figure that out.
I agree, but I still think there's going to be even if there's no solar farm there, there's not a lot of parking, and so I think people will have to pull in there, drop their kids off, and either pick them up later or go turn around and park over at the Florence Sawyer parking lot and then walk back to the practice. There are no games that occur there. It's only practice, at least for the present year and for the past years.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember from Florence Sawyer there there is no road. It's all wooded and it's a dirt road.
Yeah,
by the time
that's where the culvert's going to go over.
Right, exactly.
But there's grants to upgrade that because that would be part of this center Bolton Loop Trail, Bolton Center Loop Trail. So we could get grants to improve some of that stuff.
No, I still think it's a bad idea to allow general folks to be driving down there and parking.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, again, if I may, relative to the walking path, if that's a direction that you go in, I'm not sure that a paved path, which would be totally impervious, not the totally non-porous, sorry, would be the way to go. I mean, you can meet ADA requirements for something like that without having pavement there, so it's a matter of how you consider it to be paved. You can use crushed stone, stone dust, and that would meet, or other things that would meet ADA requirements. So, and I don't want to fall into the trap of trying to engineer it tonight. I just wanted to point that out.
No, that's fine. I'm not insistent on asphalt. It's the ADA compliant. I'm kind of tired of saying ADA compliant, so I just said pavement. So
stone dust path sounds like that could work. I mean, the reality is that it is a gravel road. There are a lot of people who drive through there now for different reasons. It's not just to service the water treatment facility. There's going to be less cars driving through there once it gets cut off at 580. It's really just going to be people going there if we don't have access, the girls' lacrosse field is going to not be used anymore. So I think it's important that we are, working on the gravel road to make it a little bit more accessible, as well as, the culvert. I just don't think it's realistic to just shut down that field to use because things are changing.
I mean, no one's suggesting shutting the field down. I'm just suggesting don't allow cars to drive over it.
Yeah,
People-
no, they shouldn't
people
drive
can
on
walk.
the field, but they're gonna drive on the cart path.
Stan, long-term, if you're going to use the horse ring, and I understand this is a discussion beyond what we're going in tonight. If you're going to use the horse ring, you're going to have to permit ADA compliant access to it. So you can either have people start from Florence Sawyer School who are disabled and try to go all the way to the field, or you can give them a place to drop off, park their cars back in Florence Sawyer and do it. But you're going to have to allow cars in there to permit for ADA compliance reasons.
Again, if I may, just because we are working a little bit blind because all the wetland delineations have not been done yet. So once that's all done, we know exactly what we're dealing with. We can get to the next level of detail and see where and how we can access certain areas. So if access is a desired goal, if limited vehicle access is a desired goal of a majority of the board, then it gets down to how we can try to achieve that. And one of the concepts that we've had when we've had our working meetings here is the ability, if we can, to have ADA access and possibly a drop-off area for parents to drop kids off before they turn around and park. And some, if there's any, vehicle, if there's any parking on that side, and we don't know if there can be, but if there were any parking on that side, it would be strictly for ADA compliance. We'd have some handicap parking, but that would be it. But the concept is if we could achieve some level of access over there without driving anything over anything that's got to do with the leach field or encroaching any wetlands, we would look to see how we can achieve that.
Yeah, I know, I'm fine with that, Don. I just don't want to see a situation where we have 30, 40, 50 cars driving straight through and parking at the edge of the lacrosse field.
No, I think those days are gone. I don't.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I want to avoid.
No, I'm not in favor of that either.
Yeah.
But Don, one thing that's not clear, and you sort of touched on it just now, is if the wetlands, the town, let me back up. The town has an easement from Bolton Senior Housing, Bolton Manor, that runs along the property line, goes outside the wellhead area, and back onto those gravel roads. Now, we don't know, now it's, if wetlands were not an issue, we could create a new vehicular traffic path from 580 Main Street to the leach field over this easement. It's a 30-foot wide easement. So suppose, Don, that the delineation comes back and says that there is a way to get past that to get onto that easement that we have. How does that play into, that's not even included in the decisions being offered tonight. And yet it seems to me that would be preferable to very high on everybody's list if we could do that.
I would assume you're right. I mean, that's a very big if, but that's where, we have to get a wetland specialist out there to determine whether or not we can do that. And we have had internal discussions about that. That's why I'm trying to maintain the general broad topic of access. And as we learn more, see how we can drill down to it, because I think what you're all saying is we want to maximize what we have to the best that we, to the best of our ability, but we don't know exactly what we have for options down at the detail level yet. absolutely. We have a 30-foot access right away. But one of the examples that Rebecca gave was if there's poison sumac versus regular sumac, if you will, that's going to be a differentiator. Apparently, if I remember right, poison sumac delineate would be a good thing, and regular old sumac is not a good thing.
Yeah. Regular sumac means wetlands.
Exactly. So, see, my staff teaches me something every day. So, but we need to get a wetland specialist to go out there and make that determination. So that's to come. So if we can keep the broad topic of access and how we can maximize it, I think that's enough clarity for now. And then we get down to the how after that.
So I think we should have access, but I don't want a road that's, you know, a second exit from Florence Sawyer or something like that.
No, I can't imagine that happening.
Okay. So I think what we can add, I think there's general agreement to adding replacement of the playground at Memorial Field to the list. The construction of the sidewalks is on the list. And providing a new spot for community gardens on the list. And how big is the list now? It should be 8 or 9.
Eddie is tabulating.
Were you including the items that had 2 votes? Like
Yes.
Derby and and parking for COA?
Yep, and the reconstruction of the stone culvert.
Yep, so I have the sidewalks, playground, community garden, culvert repairs for all vehicles, so that's 4. Derby Field, parking for COA, and emergency access overpass, 7.
That's a good
Yeah,
list to work from.
that's the big one that Don was talking about, just access.
Right. Right. I mean, there'll be sub bullets under access, I'm sure, but that's a very good list to work from. If the board could agree on that, I think we can try to make some headway on that. I think it'll be helpful to the ZBA. If it would be helpful for me to schedule a meeting with Wood Partners to try to take their temperature on some things, I could do that, but I don't want to step on the ZBA's toes. So we'll talk about that offline. But I think that's a good working list, honestly.
Can we
the
can we
7
add
that
that ADA compliant pathway, or do people object to that?
Well, we can add that.
No, I think we should add it.
Okay.
And
you
we
can
should
put
try to
that
get
up,
as much
you know.
as we can.
So that's 8 things.
That's 8 things. Did you want to put them in a particular order?
Well, I think the culvert is number 1.
Yep,
Would everyone agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
yep. I would put the parking at Bolton Country Manor at 2nd, at 2.
So parking for COA?
Yes.
I'd put the sidewalks and the town center loop as number 3.
And Derby Field, I would put 4th then.
Mm-hmm.
What does that leave us with?
We've got the playground, community garden.
In the ADA
And
compliant?
then ADA compliant. So the emergency access overpass, is that looped in with the center loop, or is that a separate item we haven't really covered?
The emergency vehicle access?
Yeah, not with the culvert, but the emergency access over the path.
Yeah. I think that should be next.
Valerie, is that, would that be grouped together?
I think it could be, yes. Yep.
The
It
emergency
depends how.
Yes, emergency access with the loop.
With the center loop and sidewalks? Yes,
I think so. That would be,
so that would be lumped in with number 3. So then number 5, Bob, you were saying would be, what do we have left?
I think
the community garden.
That's an important one before the playground.
And are we specifying which of, because there were multiple,
Well, I think it's got to be a new community garden. Not, and that doesn't say that the current ones don't get used, but
so 2A.
yeah, we can't expand what's there already.
Right.
Well, we could certainly improve what's there. But I
It's
do want
fenced
to
in.
respect the wetland delineation, and I'm sure there is a drier, sunnier site than that. So, that would be the priority, is finding a new home.
Okay. Do you want me to read this list and you can tell me if you all agree with it?
Sure.
All right, so I have number 1, the culvert. Number 2, parking for COA at 580 Main Street. Number 3 is sidewalk, center loop, and emergency access over the path. Number 4 is improvements to Derby Field. Number 5 is relocation of the community garden. Number 6 is improvement to playground at Memorial Field. And number 7 is ADA compliant path to lacrosse field.
I think that's fine.
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
Could I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second,
Roll call, Jonathan,
aye.
Stan?
Aye.
I'm a yes also. Don, is that sufficient for what you need?
Yes, I think it is. I think that's a really good starting point, and we'll see where we can take it.
Okay,
We're going to talk about the inspection stipend just briefly.
sure. I'm not sure. Go ahead. What do you want?
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted, it'd be good to know, based on our recent vote, which was based on, value of the project, what it would be. I forget what it was, $10 for every 1,000 or something like that, $12 for every 1,000, just to look at that. But I do want to just offer up a comparison. So at Alta's River's Edge in Wayland, they got a $160,000 for 220 units. So that comes out to like almost $4,000 a unit. Just as an example of what has been paid for inspectional services by Wood Partners, similar project that's being constructed right now. So just wanted to get that on the record.
That's helpful to know, Jonathan. Thank you.
Anything else on this topic? There being nothing else, before anyone can change their mind, we will move on with the agenda
Okay.
to the town administrator report. And Don will bring us up to date with what's going on with Mass Works.
The town administrator is exhausted, but he'll do the best he can. Mass Works update. Design is progressing. The main thing I wanted to mention tonight is that I think the board should start thinking about ideas for what they would like to see for I hesitate to use the word signage, but I don't know what else to say, for the interior of the roundabout. You know, what sort of, if you're thinking about plantings, if you're thinking about a welcome to Bolton sign, you know, we want to make it as attractive and welcoming as we can. It's nothing that needs to get decided tonight. It's just something I think would be useful for you to start thinking about. Because there's a lot of different ways we can go with that. And obviously we want to make it as aesthetically pleasing as possible. So any thoughts that any of you have on the topic, please get them into me. I can share them with Randy. Thoughts that the staff has, we will share with you at an appropriate time. You know, a welcome to Bolton sign may or may not be something that you want to do. It's just one thought. But anyway, I just wanted to plant that seed.
I assume there's some kind of height and width restriction.
I'm sure there are, because we don't want to impact the line of sight.
Yeah, so it'd be helpful to know what those would be.
What, Don, while we're on that topic, what is the timeline for the project? Roughly?
I was afraid someone was going to ask me that, Jonathan. I believe that we will, I think the plan right now is to have the design done, the bid documents done, and get out for bid by the end of this calendar year, so that when the weather breaks next spring, we can get started with the project. That's what I recall from the last update Randy gave me.
Okay, great, thank you.
Don, when do you need a decision on this centerpiece idea?
Oh, we've got months, you know.
Because I know I'm just pulling two loose strings together. It's going to be a very visual, it's going to be a significant visual item. And I just don't want to do something that's going to, people are going to say, why did they put that next to a school? Or why did they put that next to a school that looks like that? And I don't know how to avoid it, because the school building project is so much in its early stages. But it makes no sense to, you know, just have two big visually clashing things that close together. And I just don't know how to avoid that. So maybe your engineers and other people on this, you know, some of the design people from the school building committee can just give parameters about what kind of materials to use and stuff like that.
Well, I'm sure we can create some synergy. The engineers have done a lot of projects like this, I believe, and we've got two members of the building committee are sitting here tonight. So one gets to vote, one doesn't, and I'm sure we can have some coordination there. So I'm actually not worried about that. If we have some conceptual ideas, you know, ideas right now it is all we're going to be looking for the next several months.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to let the engineers like come up with one or two suggestions.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I'm sure there are a lot of rules.
Should we go on to a discussion of the town meeting warrant Article 5?
Yes, please. So as I emailed the board earlier, and I've already got this slide into Doug's story, I thought it was important that we amend Article 5 so that it's not too restrictive. And also I did overlook one of the entries in the engineer's report, which talked about the access to the rear of the town hall and redesign of the fire escape. So to make it as flexible as possible, we're not looking to change the dollar amount. It's still $69,100, but to add the words that are in red in your packet. But after it says to install emergency lighting, then the edit would be and to perform other repairs or planning in or outside of various town buildings. That allows us to do to commence the design work that we've talked about, or well, it would be design work, but also if we run into something that's totally unanticipated, which is entirely possible, especially at the town hall with an old building like this, it gives us the latitude to deal with it under the article. So that's the amendment that I would propose for Monday night. And I just wanted to get the board's reaction to see if there are any concerns about that.
I'm fine.
I'm fine with
You're
it.
not changing the dollar amount. You're just not limiting what you spend it on.
Yep.
And like I
Yeah,
said, it's
good.
just an oversight. Would you like a vote on this?
It's not necessary, but if you'd like, that's fine.
I'll make a motion, we approve the wording change to Article 5 as in our packet.
Second.
Roll call, Jonathan,
Aye.
Stan?
Aye.
I'm a yes also. Let's discuss Article 14 of the warrant.
15.
No, it's actually 14.
14.
We updated that to 14.
Okay.
Article 15 is the citizens petition.
Okay.
So Article 14, there is no bad news here. The first piece of good news is that the article doesn't have to be amended. The next piece of good news is we conducted a successful request for proposals process, which would not have been done as successfully as it was if it wasn't for all the work that Jenny did on this. Jenny's getting a lot of accolades tonight, but deservedly so. So the most advantageous submission is from the current leaseholder, which is a good thing. Continuity is important. When we went out for bid, when we went out for proposals, we indicated that knowing that our current annual revenue was $100,000 on the lease, that we wanted to see at least a 3% increase. So we were hoping for $103,000. This price proposal indicates $130,000 in year one, with an escalator for the outlying years linked to the Consumer Price Index published by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics of the United States Department of Labor for all urban consumers, U.S. city average, all items not seasonally adjusted, base period 1982 to 84. So a long way of saying it'll be linked to CPI every year. So we'll see an increase every year. Conversely, they gave us the alternative of a one-time lump sum payment of $1,220,000, which sounds like an impressive amount of money, but it is, but it's less than half the lifetime value of the lease. So it is my recommendation to the board that you accept the terms of the 25-year payment period over the life of the lease. That if you vote favorably on that tonight, and assuming town meeting votes to approve the 25-year lease, then I can send that information to our town council. We can immediately start finalizing the wording in the lease and get it back to the Crown Castle is the name of the leaseholder, and they can review it with their legal. And it should go pretty quickly. We per procurement requirements, we included a generic version of the lease, proposed lease, in the bid package. So they've already seen the lease. We just need to get the specific information in it as far as terms, contact people, and that type of thing. So I would just need direction from the board as to which option you would prefer and to vote accordingly.
Are we getting ahead of ourselves by making this decision before town meeting?
No, we're not. Because if town meeting didn't approve the lease, then this is moot. But if assuming town meeting does approve the lease, then we're ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I would go with the 25-year
Yep,
annual payment.
Yep.
makes sense to me. I'll make a motion that we approve the option to go with the 25-year lease for the cell tower lease.
Second,
Roll call, Jonathan,
aye.
Stan,
All right,
I'm a yes also.
Great, thank you. Yeah, this is I think a very favorable lease for the town. And whoever the town administrator is 25 years from now can worry about the next renewal.
Thank you, Jenny.
thanks, Jenny.
Jenny will still be here. So unless the board has any other questions for me, that's all I have for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Are there any public service announcements from the select board?
I have two. One is Boy Scouts bottles and cans up at the transfer station. The little red shed as you crest the hill coming in, please drop off your bottles and cans that have a deposit on it. I still see lots and lots of deposit-oriented soda and beer cans in the recycle bins. Just keep them separate and give them to the Boy Scouts. That is their major source of income. Second one is that I have been talking to the DPW folks who man the transfer station, and I have seen multiple times firsthand residents who may not necessarily be happy with either the policies that are up there, what you can and cannot leave, or what you can and cannot dump, and what you need to pay for certain things when you drop things off. And I've seen some rather contentious confrontations between residents and the DPW staff. The DPW staff does not set the policies or the procedures or the amounts of money or anything. They're there to do a job, and those guys do it very well, and they're very courteous. If you have any issues with anything that the DPW workers tell you as far as what you can and cannot do and what you need to pay, do not take it out on them. Either contact Don Lowe, our town administrator, or any one of the selectmen, and we'll be happy to go through that with you. As I said, I have seen some pretty nasty people mouthing off at our DPW staff, and we will not tolerate that. So please be respectful of our staff. They do a great job. They do it year round, and if you have any problems, they're not the people you need to take it out on. Talk to Don or any of the selectmen. Thanks.
Jonathan?
No announcements.
No, okay, well, I would like to remind everybody that our annual town meeting is this coming Monday evening. It will be at the high school in person. It will be indoors. We will possibly be testing out our new electronic voting equipment at this meeting. You should have all received a copy of the warrant in the mail last week. If you didn't, there are some available at Town Hall, and I think at the library. Is that correct? Are there copies of the warrant at the library?
I don't know, but I could certainly get some of the 200 copies I have there over to Kelly on Monday.
Yeah, or go to Jenny's house. She's got 200 copies there.
I hope this isn't my house. Feels like
No,
it sometimes.
No, it's not her house. Well, certainly go to Town Hall and get copies of the warrant. What are the hours for Town Hall on Monday?
9 until
9 to
2:30.
2:30.
9 to 2:30. Thank you. And then will be the town election the following week. I would just want to further endorse what Stan Wysocki said. The guys at the transfer station, they're out there during the worst weather of the summer. They're out there during the worst weather of the winter. They're out there during the cold and rainy and muddy times of spring and fall. They are just trying to do a job. They're trying to do it well. They're not making up the rules. They're doing what other people have told them to do. And if you do have issues, please contact Don Lowe or one of the selectmen. Thank you. Next up is a summary of the town administrator review, Mr. Don Lowe, which I had the pleasure of delivering to him last week. The process of this is that every member of the select board is sent a form, an evaluation form, which they complete. And this year, as chairman of the board, I compiled the scores received by everybody and sat down to Don to incorporate the comments and the scores and go over his performance for the past year. The areas covered are decision-making, communication skills, his personal development and his ability to motivate people, planning within the town hall function, leadership and supervision. Does the town administrator understand their role in terms of what it is in a town versus other municipal forms of government? Is he a team player? Do they conduct themselves professionally at meetings? And do they set an example for ethics? Under every one of those categories are a bunch of bullet points where a town administrator can be scored from a 1 to a 5, with 5 being the highest. Don came through with very good scores. He got no score in any of the bullet points of less than a 4.6 out of 5, given that I'm averaging the selectmen's ratings. So that's all very good. 5 being categorized as excellent. So there's, I think we have a lot of confidence. I think the select board is showing a lot of confidence in Don. I think the select board is telling them that there's certain areas that we want to see some changes made, some improvement in, but there's nothing severe. Again, the lowest score was a 4.6 out of a possible 5 on some bullet points. So it was a pleasure giving Don such a good review. He took it very well. And again, that's about all I could say. It was a review that it was a pleasure to be able to deliver. There weren't any difficult portions of the review at all. So thank you.
Thank you, Don. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Don.
I'd like to thank each of you. It was a review that was a pleasure to receive. And I make no bones about the fact that while this is a very hard job, it's actually the hardest job I've ever had in my life. But it's made easier by the people I've got around me. You're only as good as the people that you have around you. And I'm blessed to have an outstanding staff. And without that staff to manage, without any staff, the manager is nothing. So certainly a fair share of the credit goes to the staff as well. But I thank you, and it continues to be an honor to serve as Bolton's town administrator.
Next up is the need to approve bills and payroll warrants W22-21 and W22-21A. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Jonathan?
Aye.
Stan?
Aye.
And I am a yes also. Any other select board business? Any requests for agendas in the future? Matter of fact, could we make that a bullet point for the select board section of the agenda from now on? There's just a bullet point asking if there's agenda requests. All right, next, the board will go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Purpose 7, to comply with or act under the authority of the open meeting law, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 22F, G, to review and consider the possible release of executive session meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Mr. Chairman, before we do that, there was an additional item, a bullet item for minutes under select board business. Do we have any minutes or no?
I didn't see that on my agenda, sorry.
Maybe I'm looking at a slightly older one.
Do we have minutes to review?
We do have minutes to review, but you are quite right that it's not on the agenda, so we'll have to save them.
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I will second the motion to go into executive session.
all right, I guess I made the motion, so roll call, Jonathan,
Aye.
Stan,
Aye.
I'm a yes also.
Mr. Chairman, you will not be returning into open session except for the purpose of adjournment.
We will not be returning into open session except for the purpose of adjournment.
I'll second that too.